Okay, using zeros. This is our final video for this chapter. Hooray! Okay, anyway, so we have to write an equation that could represent the function with the given zeros. So we have x equals 1, x equals 2, and x equals 5. Well, let's just put these into their factors. So that's going to be x minus 1, x minus 2, and x minus 5. And then we're going to multiply them out. So if we multiply those first two, you get x squared minus 3x plus 2. So I just multiplied x minus 1 and x minus 2. Now I'm going to multiply that to the x minus 5. And you get x cubed minus 8x squared plus 17x minus 10. You can use distribution, you can use the box, whatever you want. But here I just did x times x squared is x cubed. X times 3x is negative 3x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared. Negative 5 times negative 3 is 15x. And negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Cool? You do B. That's the answer right there. And let's look at C. So I have x equals negative 2, x equals negative 4/3, and x equals 2. Well, I'm going to change that to 3x equals 4. So I just multiplied both of those, by 3. So then I'm going to have x plus 2, 3x plus 4, and x minus 2. Okay, x plus 2 times x minus 2 is x squared minus 4. So I'm going to multiply those two together first. And I get x squared minus 4 times 3x plus 4. Then when you multiply that out, you get 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 12x minus 16. Whoops. And that's it. You're done. Okay, let's look at D. So I have x equals the positive square root of 2, x equals the negative square root of 2, and x equals 1. So that's x minus square root of 2, x plus square root of 2, and x minus 1. Let's multiply those first two together. When you multiply x minus the square root of 2 and x plus the square root of 2, you get x squared minus 2. Multiply that by x minus 1, and you get x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 2. Okay, you can do E. You will get x to the 4th minus 13x squared plus 12. Let's do this one. So we have negative 6, 2 plus the square root of 5, and 2 minus the square root of 5. Now this one gets a little hairy, so let's pay real close attention. So my factors here are going to be x minus 6, and then x minus 2 plus the square root of 5, and x minus 2 minus the square root of 5. Okay, and I kind of did that weird. So let's look at this over here. There should be an extra parenthesis right there. So if we have x minus 2 plus the square root of 5. Let's just look at this one first. I'm going to distribute this negative in. So that's going to be x minus 2 minus the square root of 5. Okay, that's for one of them. I'll do the other one in the other color. So then I have x minus 2, parenthesis, minus the square root of 5. Distribute that in. So I'm going to get x minus 2 plus the square root of 5. Okay. And I'm going to show that right here. Okay, so it's x plus 6, x minus 2 minus the square root of 5, x minus 2 plus the square root of 5. Now I want to multiply the ones with the square roots first. And the easiest way to do this is with the box. You can do it by foiling and distributing. That's fine, but I'm just going to use the box because it helps me keep organized, okay? So I have x minus 2 minus the square root of 5, x minus 2 plus the square root of 5. Now x times x is x squared. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative square root of 5 times x is negative x square root of 5. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 2 times negative square root of 5 is 2 square roots of 5. X times the square root of 5 is x square roots of 5. Negative 2 times the square root of 5 is negative 2 square roots of 5. And then negative square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is negative 5. Now those ones right there will cancel. Those cancel. And I'm left with x squared minus 4x minus 1. Okay, now I'm going to multiply that out, and you get x cubed minus 4x squared minus x. Multiply the 6x squared minus 24x minus 6. Combine like terms, and that's x cubed plus 2x squared minus 25x minus 6. You know, one day I'm going to be able to make videos and not make at least 3 or 4 mistakes in each one. Unfortunately, you guys don't get to see that version of Miss Kagan. Sorry. Anyways, yeah, that should be x cubed plus 2x squared minus 25x minus 6. Okay? Now let's talk about multiplicity. So multiplicity, that's basically the exponent power. That tells you how many of that 0 there are. So if I have x equals 3 and x equals 5, that's going to be x minus 3, but it has a multiplicity of 2, so it's x minus 3 squared. And then x minus 5. Then we're going to multiply this out. X minus 3 squared, that's x squared minus 6x plus 9. Remember, if you have something squared, we have x minus 3 squared. That's x minus 3, x minus 3, and then that ends up being x squared minus 6x plus 9. This is not x squared plus 9. If you do that, I swear I'll rip my eyeballs out. Okay? And then we're going to finish multiplying this. I'm just going to rearrange it to make it a little bit easier on myself. And you get, possibly maybe, x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9x, negative 5x squared plus 30x minus 45, which is x cubed minus 11x squared plus 39x minus 45. Cool? Now let's look at this one. So I have x equals 0, x equals 1, and x equals 5/2, which is 2x equals 5. So that's going to be x minus 1, and 2x minus 5 squared. Now I'm going to multiply that part out first, and you get 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. Now let's multiply this part out, and you get 4x cubed minus 24x squared plus 45x minus 25. Then the last thing, I just need to multiply that x in there, so you get 4x to the 4th minus 24x cubed plus 45x squared minus 25x. Okay, you can do I and j. There's the answer to I, that's the answer to j. Okay, now the conjugate root theorem. If a polynomial function has a complex 0 of a plus bi, then its conjugate, a minus bi, is also a 0. Okay, so if we have example k, sorry, 5 and 3i. 3i, that's technically a complex 0 because it has an I in there. That means that negative 3i is also a 0. So I'm going to have x equals 5, x equals 3i, and x equals negative 3i. So that's x minus 5, x minus 3i, x plus 3i. We can multiply those parts out, and you get, sorry, I'll go through those steps. So you get x squared minus 3x, or x squared plus 3ix minus 3ix minus 9i squared. Now those 3ix's are going to cancel each other out. I squared equals negative 1, so that's going to be x squared plus 9. Then we multiply that x minus 5 in, and you get x cubed minus 5x squared plus 9x minus 45. You can do L and M. Those are the answers to those ones. And let's look at this one. So we have negative 4 and 3 plus I. Now if 3 plus I is a 0, that means that 3 minus I is also a 0. So I'm going to have x equals negative 4, x equals 3 plus I, and x equals 3 minus I. So x plus 4, x minus 3 minus I, and x minus 3 plus I. Remember, we had to put those in parentheses, distribute that negative. Now again, I'm going to use the box here. Okay, I need it to stay organized. If you don't need it, cool. If you do need it, super cool also. Okay, so that's x squared, negative 3x, negative ix, negative 3x, 9, 3i, ix, negative 3i, and negative I squared. Now those ix's cancel, 3 i's cancel, and then I squared equals negative 1, so that's negative negative 1, which is positive 1. So when I pull that all out, I get x squared minus 6x plus 10, and I can put that in up here. So I get x plus 4, x squared minus 6x plus 10, multiply that out, and you get x cubed minus 2x squared minus 14x plus 40. Okay, remember to take the quiz. Bye.